So we did it, guys. We finally reached episode 11 of BlazBlue Alter Memory. One more episode to go. This is the second to last episode. Holy hell. Hard to believe we made it this far, but we're so close to being done. I can just feel it. But yeah, episode 11 of BlazBlue Alter Memory. Let's get the show on the road. So the episode begins with Ragna and Terry beginning to fight. Ragna felt a strange sensation from the cocoon and says that it is the heartbeat of the Black Beast, with Ragna asking Terry if he was creating another one. Terry dismisses the idea, simply saying that the Black Beast was nothing more than a failure and the result of a cauldron going haywire. Terry decides to tell Ragna a story since Noel is still being smelted. He says that a long time ago that mankind found the plane of existence known as the boundary, and that the gateways that led there were called cauldrons. Within the boundary, an energy source was discovered, called Seether, that people use for just about everything nowadays. Terry claims that Seether is actually something called an artificially created particulate program, and that the entire world is made of Seether itself, which makes it a big deal. Around that time, humanity also discovered the Master Unit, which was an all-seeing entity that can manipulate Seethers, so humanity sent the very first boundary interface prime field device to make contact with the Master Unit, though she became the Eye, and later an Observer, which allowed her to replay any event over and over again until she gained her desired outcome. As humanity deemed it risky, they tossed the prime field back into the boundary, but the data left behind gave them ideas, with one of these ideas leading them to create the Takamagahara system. The Takamagahara gave the boundary interface prime field device a new purpose, to kill the Master Unit. The MURAKUMO unit also came into being as it was based off the sealed armament Ezioi, since the Ezioi was the weapon that killed the first prime field device, but no one could defeat the Master Unit without the power of the Azure, the root of everything that hides deep within the boundary. Terry says that it wasn't much, but he managed to steal some of the Azure, going on to creating the Azure Grimoire, though neither he nor Ragna have the real BlazBlue. Terry goes on to say that the Azure Grimoire and the MURAKUMO unit didn't fuse the way he wanted to, so that resulted in the creation of the Black Beast. Terry claims that Noel doesn't need the Azure Grimoire as she is the perfect prime field device with the true Azure already within her. Terry calls out to Noel, telling her to awaken as a MURAKUMO unit, and yelling that the world is filled with lies, 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 and is going to show everyone the truth called despair. Terry declares that in the name of Susanoo, she is a MURAKUMO unit no longer, that she's Kusanagi, the god-killing sword. And now with Noel as Kusanagi, Terry finally has the true Azure in his possession and can kill the Master Unit Amaterasu. Terry sends Noel off to the underground cauldron so that she can go and kill Amaterasu. Overseeing Ragna and Terry is Lambda, who Kokonoe tells that when Terry attacks Ragna, it will be a very brief moment where all of his focus is directly on Ragna, and in that moment Lambda has to take out Terry or it's all over. Noel reaches to the cauldron below but encounters Hakumen instead, her calling him Susanoo, and as a Sankishin he must be killed, leading the two to engage in a fight. Keep in mind that we haven't been informed of what a Sankishin really is yet, despite being mentioned 3 times already. Ragna and Terry continue fighting, with Ragna being outclassed by his opponent. Terry looks up at the sky and says that he knows that Takamagahara is watching all of this. Ragna gets back up as he remembers his words about Jubei telling him that he doesn't have to win, he just can't die. Ragna calls himself a sore loser and prepares to attack Terry once again, telling the man that he is going to protect Noel, end of story, despite Terry telling him that Noel is nothing more than an experiment created in a lab. Terry mocks Ragna for being such a great quote-unquote protector, considering that Noel is now Kusanagi and Rachel is now stuck in a magic prison for all eternity. Seeing Ragna get beaten by Terry angers Lambda, though Kokonoe keeps telling her to stay put until the right moment. As Terry launches a final attack to kill Ragna, Kokonoe finally sends Lambda down to kill Terry, but unfortunately, Lambda is struck by Terry's attack instead. Despite her chance to take out Terry failed and her heavy injury, Lambda is still willing to risk it all to finish off Terumi. Terumi mocks Kokonoe and says that he's going to play rough with Lambda just like he did to Kokonoe's mother, which I find it funny. This is the second time Kokonoe's mom was mentioned, and we have yet to say it's actually the Great Sage 9, but whatever. Lambda's final attack is easily brushed off by Terumi and is struck down by him, falling into Ragna's arms. Ragna demands Kokonoe to teleport Lambda back, though Kokonoe says that Lambda has taken too much damage for her to even do anything about it. Out of nowhere, Nu comes back to the surface through Lambda to talk to Ragna. Nu says that she remembers all the moments she had with Ragna through Lambda, and at peace, Lambda/Nu dies and fuses with Ragna, with Kokonoe saying that Lambda connected her idea engine with Ragna, and Ragna telling Lambda why did she have to die for a man like him. Kokonoe tells Ragna to use the idea engine as Ragna activates his Azure Grimoire, even though Terumi claims that he'll just shut it down again. Despite this, Ragna begins to overpower Terumi and go on to defeating him once and for all. Down and nearly out, Terumi goads Ragna on to kill him, but before he does, Guy flies to Ragna and warns him that Rachel is in danger. Ragna heads off, leaving Terumi on the ground, for some reason. Noelle and Hakumen continue their quote-unquote fight until Noelle notices Jin in the room, with Jin wondering if Noelle is still herself or not. He tells Hakumen that all he wants to do is kill Ragna and he won't let anyone stand in the way of denying him of that. He also tells Hakumen to go away as he claims that relics from the Dark War aren't welcome here. Using his power of order, Jin declares Noelle is now an evil that must be destroyed, and he draws his Yukianasa. Ragna and Guy travel to the area where Rachel and Nago got trapped by Phantom and the Imperator, and Ragna manages to save the two. Rachel notices that something has changed within Ragna, though Ragna was more concerned about Rachel not thanking him for saving her. Ragna heads off, saying that the two of them have to go save Noelle. Back at the cauldron, Jin is tiring in his fight against Noelle, though he stops Hakumen from stepping in. Jin is then attacked by one of Noelle's swords, but he is then saved by Ragna. The two of them team up to fight back Noelle, ending off the episode. And now for my overall thoughts of the episode. You know, honestly, I don't know what to say. I am not much of a fan of this episode, because most of it is just like Terumi talking, right? He spills the entire story of the world of BlazBlue. And again, he does something like that in the games, but at least with the games that had build up to this moment, right here is just like everything you need to know, like at the last minute. He finally explains what Seether is. He finally explains what the boundary is. He finally explains what the purpose of the prime fields are. He finally explains what the hell Takamagahara is all about. He finally talks about the master unit. He talks about Easy-Oi and his main purpose for Easy-Oi. He talks about the Azure for the first time. Like, everything that's been built up the entire time was spilled by Terumi all at the last minute, right? All of it, every single thing. Like, they kept dropping names about, like, literally everything. And it's like, Terumi's like, oh, I'm just tell you a story since, you know, smelting is still going on. I might as well just tell you a story, Ragna. Haha. He spills with about the Azure Grimoire, what the hell it really is. Like, it's too little too late for nearly all of this, you know? And it's like at the last minute. Like, while Ragna and Terumi should be fighting to the death, while Noelle is being smelted, and obviously, Noelle, like, obviously her being smelted is a bad thing, right? You're not supposed to have her smelted. Ragna is just sitting here listening to Terumi do his little story instead of attacking him. So, you know, literally Terumi was just stalling for time, obviously, and Ragna just stood there and was like, I guess I'll just listen to him and shit and know the whole story. No, what Ragna should have been doing is attacking Terumi. But, you know, whatever. I mean, there's no, I don't think he could have really done about the... You know, whatever, there's no point. I mean, he could have just smashed the cauldron if he could have, but, you know, whatever, there's no point talking about that. Anyway, so he goes on his speech about, you know, lies, filled despair. Noelle's now Kusanagi. He tells Kusanagi to go off. You know what's funny? I find it hilarious they haven't dropped name Mu 12 this entire time. Like, I've been skimming through this whole anime and I have yet to actually say Mu's name, which is crazy because I've been calling her Noelle this entire video because I didn't feel safe calling her Mu, and I didn't feel like saying Kusanagi all the time, so I just called her Noelle. Oh yeah, the San Kishin kept getting name dropped despite no one knowing what the hell the San Kishin is. They've mentioned the San Kishin 3 times and have yet to actually say what they are. Like, all we know is that Susanoo, aka Hakumen, is one of them. That's it. They didn't say if Tsukuyomi or Amaterasu was one of them. No, they just said Hakume is one, and that's it. So, yeah. Again, I feel sorry for the person watching Ultimate Memory for the first time, not understanding what the actual hell is going on. And even before all that, right? So, now we get to a point where Lambda technically dies, right? They do it in the games where Nu was technically living through the experience of Lambda, right? And despite Lambda's death scene supposedly being sad, considering that Nu was the one technically being overridden and the one living the experiences through through Lambda, it cheapens the experience, we were led to believe that Lambda could be her own, consider her own person, right? And ultimately, right? Nu's gone, even though her soul is in their memories and whatnot. It's essentially used as a way to keep Lambda upright as a puppet of sorts, right? That's what's, being treated as, while Lambda's her own person. But Nu comes back, at left field, right? She comes back, despite Lambda being somewhat her own character the entire time, right? Nu comes back now. It's oh shit, oh hey Rog, now it's there was no hint of Nu coming back at all through Lambda. Now, if there were some signs that Lambda was showing that she was spilling some spilling some new words, or acting like Nu for a little bit and noticing that someone was off, then I could believe it more. But considering this happens in the games too, I can't blame the anime for this version. Actually, I can't blame the anime, because the anime puts more emphasis on Lambda as a character rather than her just being a vessel for Nu, which technically Lambda is just a vessel for Nu's soul. But they treat Lambda as her own person coming through the surface. But in the end, it feels like it cheapens what Lambda's character was, just replacing her with Nu at the last minute. Though I find it funny that Ragnar never referred to Nu once when Nu came back. Now he kept saying that this was for Lambda. I'm doing this for Lambda. So I kind of find some kind of solace in that Nu wasn't what Ragnar was thinking of when trying to defeat Terami. So I like that a lot more than just saying, oh, this is for Nu. Nu is for this. I just kind of like that better, because when Nu coming back through Lambda and making it seem like Nu was there the entire time really cheapens the moment of when Lambda's dying. Again, that happens in the games too, but they put more emphasis with Lambda on in Alter Memory than they really did in the games. Continuum Shift at least, right? And I like that a lot more than what they've done. I kind of liked it better. Now, if they just completely didn't have Nu override Lambda at the last minute, then yeah, I totally like that way more, and it would feel more emotionally invested. I would feel more, I just never liked that idea of having Nu come to the surface at the last minute. I would have preferred if Nu was just straight up dead and her soul was just used to keep Lambda alive. I would have been perfectly fine with that. They did drop hints that, yeah, Nu's memory is still within Lambda, but Lambda never really displayed much of that throughout her time with Ragnar. She did care for Ragnar, but it felt natural that she grew to care for Ragnar rather than just Nu's memories and soul manipulating her emotions to feel that way. That's what I don't like. But I did like Lambda's, Ragnar doing all this for Lambda, not Nu, which I did love. So yeah, so moving on from that, Ragnar's fight with Terami is terrible. I will get in the moment of that. His fight is terrible, right? I will say this, terrible animation. Actually, not even terrible animation. I think the lack of animation is just the problem. Ragnar beats Terami in one attack. The end. He crushes him with his giant... I don't even know what that was supposed to be. I think that was supposed to be Devoured by Darkness, but... It just reminds me of Mu's freaking Astral Heat from Continuum Shift, where she summons that big hand and it slashes us before it was changed into she summons a bunch of swords down. And Continuum Shift, Mu's Astral is just a big white hand and he just picks up a sword, slashes your opponent and kills them. That's what Devoured by Darkness looks like in the anime. It's just a big hand and it just makes me laugh. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Ragnar's fight with Terami is pretty awful. Trying to cut out all the scenes that involve Kusanagi, quote unquote, it's mostly just Terami talking shit and giving Ragnar the rundown on the story of the world of sorts, about the, information about the boundary of Seether, Primefield, Amaterasu, yada yada. And the actual fight itself is pretty terrible. Like, Ragnar gets his ass kicked the entire fight. Okay, fine. No struggle on Teremy's part. Then Ragnar gets the idea engine and beats him in one hit. And the worst part about it is, because the life link was only mentioned once, right? Okay, keep in mind, this happens in the game too, but... See, the main reason why Ragnar couldn't kill Teremy is because he life linked with Noel. And he technically was immortal. That's why he left Teremy there in the games. In the anime, Ragnar just leaves Teremy there. Like, after all the shit Teremy pulled, he was going to kill Teremy, but Guy came in and it's like, okay, Rachel's in danger, we gotta go. Ragnar just leaves him there, right? And no mention of the lifelink, which means the whole purpose of Ragnar killing Teremy was thrown out the window. It just made Ragnar seem stupid to keep Teremy alive. You know, there was like no big speech about, oh, how revenge was going to getting revenge wasn't going to satisfy you, because obviously we hadn't hit the Chronophantasma yet. So technically, Ragnar just let Teremy go for no reason. Despite Teremy being blatantly pure evil, despite him killing Lambda, he just lets him go. And it made Ragnar seem like a complete... Oh, and despite him turning... despite him killing the sister, destroying his home, kidnapping his sister, turning Noel into Kusanagi, Ragnar just lets him go. And it just makes Ragnar look like an idiot on the part of the writers. Like, it just makes Ragnar look like an idiot because they never established the life link yet. And that kind of pisses me off. But yeah, there's also the fights, quote unquote, the fights between Jin and Noel, which keep getting cut away. Hakumen, it would have been cool to see him fight Noel, but we don't get to see that. We don't get to see Jin fight Noel at all. They're just cut back and forth just to show them on the back end. And yeah, it sucks. This episode wasn't very good. The only thing I really did like was Ragnar fighting for Lambda, and Ragnar remembering his moments with Lambda, and Teremy being a ham, even though those are the only moments I liked. Honestly, in this entire episode, that's the only moments I liked. This episode wasn't very good to me. Like, you figured the episode to the very end would have been like the sickest shit ever. Ragnar gets to fight, gets to showdown with Teremy. He gets to kick his ass. Teremy gets to go on his crazy speeches. Epic showdown, the final battle for Final Destiny, Lambda's death. No, it's not very good. Not good at all. I didn't like this episode, not gonna lie. Like, there's so much that could have been done here to change it up from the game's adaptation. But it wasn't. It done it way worse than I could have possibly imagined. So yeah, this episode wasn't good. So high hopes for the final episode. So yeah, this is in episode 11 of BlazBlue Ultimate Memory. Peace out, everybody.